For years, I've had people ask me at seminars, especially a lot of young people, if you could give me one good tip that'll make me a better fisherman, what would it be? Got it. Every chance you get to go fishing, go. I don't care what the weather is. You get a chance to go, go. It'll force you to fish different baits in different situations in different parts of the lake, and you're gonna learn something. I promise you're gonna learn something. And on some days, you're gonna have a bite of fish that will shock you when everybody else will say, I'm not going today. It's a post-frontal condition, crystal clear skies. Those fish ain't gonna bite, and you just wail on them. And there's sometimes logic isn't the answer. It's just put your boat in the water. You can't catch them if you're not out in the water.
Closed captioning is provided by Smooth Moves, adjustable boat seat suspensions for a smoother ride. Oop, there's one out. Oh, wow, he hit it pretty good. Oh, not bad. Boy, a little bit thin, starting to fatten back up. Just got done spawning. We'll get her back in the water. There's probably more where that one came from.
Here's the deal. Plan A didn't work. We went to a lake we couldn't even put the boat in. The wind is blowing 20 to 30 miles an hour with gusts pushing in the mid-30s to high 40s. The plan was to do a frog show. We couldn't get to the first two lakes we wanted to go to. Jim says, I know another lake here a little bit. We could beat the wind a little bit to back arms. It got a lot of wood in it, some shallow water, frog water, and let's go. At least we could fish. One thing about fishing, you're always adjusting to your local weather and water conditions. Yeah, it's amazing. You fish a lake in a way you've never fished it before because of the weather conditions. And sometimes bad conditions that force you to change your thinking helps you become a better angler. It opens your mind to situations where you can make adjustments. It's trying to make the best of what Plan A and Plan B were to start with, but never happened. I have no idea what to expect for today. No idea whatsoever.
See, there's a big stump right there. And I'm just reeling my jig past the stump. That's one thing nice about this live, where you got subsurface cover that a lot of times you can actually see it really good. You can actually see the fish moving around the cover in some cases. Saw one right there. He's about 20 foot that way. You can see my bait dropping in right there. Right there. See if I can. Whoop, there's one. There's one. Oh, big one. Nope. There we go. That's a good one there. Oh, come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. Whoa. Whoa. Here, come here. That's a nice one. That isn't a bad one. Huh. A little bit better. I'm actually taking the jig and actually sort of fishing it both ways. You know, when you see a piece of cover, I'll flip it over by it, but a lot of times what I've been doing, taking this jig and just actually swimming it in between spots. Right now, it's actually just fish probably just got done spawning like in the last couple of weeks actually. You can see by even the last couple of fish we caught, but one thing that's, you know, that's sort of interesting, that's actually directly after the spawning, you're talking about jigs. And a lot of times you use, you know, heavy jigs for flipping and, you know, specifically casting the things. Right now I'm fishing with a very, very lightweight jig. A lot of times these fish, after they just got done spawning, that slower drop speed seems like to be really an advantage. Oh, like that one there. Oh, you know, that slower drop speed, we can let it sit there in front of them for a little bit. You know, right after they get done spawning, they can have the tendency to be a little bit discriminatory on what the how fast the bait is moving. And I know one thing, for at this time of the year, this is a really key time for lightweight jigs. This one here, I think this is actually like an eighth, a very lightweight bait.
You can just see these other logs. I just got This is and you know, sunglasses are critical. You know, wavy labor is what we use, but you can see all these individual stumps. And even in back, he's fishing some of these shallower ones. I can look up at the back here where I'm picking apart some spots that he's not picking apart.
There's one big one. Whoa, oh, no. Wow, it's a better one. I thought it was a real big one, though. It's a nice one, though. Come here, buddy. Whoa. I know one thing, you know, as far as early season bass fishing, this is sort of cool in the fact that you get up on these shallow flats and what you're doing is targeting the best habitat. And the fun part of it is because you're actually target fishing. You know, you're flipping to, you know, isolated cover that you can see, whether it be clumps of developing weeds, or in this case, you know, we're casting stumps, isolated stumps up on this flat, but it's just such a fun technique, you know, and you get up on these spots and you flip it in where it's supposed to be, and this guy shows up and hammers the bait. We'll get her back. You see there's just a Terminator Pro Spear Series jig. It's got a really stout hook on it, relatively short shank, and I'm just putting a plastic trailer on. This is a Big Bite Flappin' Craw, one of my all-time favorites, and you'll notice the color, green pumpkin. This segment is brought to you by Wavy Label Eyewear. Backed by a lifetime warranty, we see what others don't. Look at that there. Bluegill beds all over right here, Al. Right to our right, a bunch of big bluegill beds. See that dimpled bottom right in here? That's what all that is.
Yeah, I see him.
Bluegill
I
beds.
see him. I see it on side imaging too.
It's one thing, you know, today's day and age, you look at the different sonar technology, and I got 3 different ones going here. 2D sonar, Mega 360, and you can see all these bluegill beds, and then I have Mega Live up in front. What this sonar enables you to do is gives you a far better understanding of what's going on around you. You know, it wasn't that long ago when we just had like a regular 2D sonar. Now you actually have all this, you know, primarily these sonar technologies that really helps you get a wider look at the underwater landscape.
Interesting, those bluegill beds, apparently they may have not, and bluegills can't be done, Jim. It's 70 something degrees. They ought to be still a lot of fish on those beds.
I sure think so.
Early 70s.
Usually those bigger largemouths start keying in on those.
In that area.
There's one. Oh, there's a good one. There's a, yeah. Oh, no, same stuff. Boy, you got like a little isolated wad of really shallow trees up on this flat. It seems like there was like 3 or 4 right in that little spot right there. There we go. Where you can see that they're just starting to get fed back up after the spawn. You know, so many different times you go out on the water, you know, you have to adjust to the various conditions you're faced with. We initially went over this flat, caught some fish on jigs on isolated wood. Now we're gonna go back through the same spots where I laid the coordinates down with finesse baits. And right now I have a Big Bite trick stick on with a little VMC Ned head rig, and then Al's throwing the Nico rig, and we're gonna see what happens here, because I suspect we're gonna catch a number more of fish. And you know, like anytime you fish over areas, you catch them on one bait, but in a lot of cases, you initially come back through there with different presentations, and you will catch more fish on alternate presentations.
Right under the boat. James, you weren't lying. You were telling me the truth. The 1-2 spring, guaranteed spring bass bite if you gotta get nice fish. Whoa. Oh, look at that one, huh? It's a good one. Nico strikes again. You can't go wrong with a Nico rig when you got to get a bite. There's no question about that. I know. I told you so. We come back through, we're going to get some of the better ones, and that's one of the better ones. That's the kind of fish we came here for. You know, although I expected to catch them shallow on a frog, we're making the adjustment like we always do. Seems like every day is a new deal. Every single day is a new deal. throughout the day, at different times, there's a new deal. And that Nico is simply nose weighted. You know, a little bit tiny lightweight in the head. Then you got the protector for wacky and the little weight system. It's so simple. Those Nico hooks are like needles.
You know, one thing with the jig, what we were doing, we're moving through here really, really quickly and just flipping right to those isolated trees and clumps of weeds and moving along in a pretty expedient pace. And now once we, went to these more of a finesse tactic, we're fishing it considerably slower. And the odd thing is we could probably put some other alternate baits on and come back right back to the same area and trigger different fish. Oh, there's one. Nope, not a biggie, I don't think. Not a bad one, though. A fish. Another fish. Come here, buddy. Hard to beat. A trick stick when it comes to catching bass that are sort of inactive. I think more of these have been sold than any other soft plastic on the planet. And you look at it, it's just a stick,
Better one.
The real leaper.
A little bit better. I thought she was a little better than that. Look, I think there was another fish almost with it. That's still a flipper. Yeah, marginal flipper with light line. That's amazing how deadly, this system is for that finesse bite early in the year.
This boat is rigged up about as nice.
Easy to use, and it flat out works.
It's a must-have when you're talking about big waves. Well, these trout are so darn tough.
This bait is legendary.
So that was on a number 8 Shad Rap.
Your style of boat control is really key.
One that was there from the very beginning.
You want to be able to see in the water. The adventure begins.
Well, considering the conditions that we have, which is somewhat adverse with the 25-mile-an-hour winds, we got a few bass, some jigging, some finesse fishing, but we're on the bigger and better water. We're gonna move into the back end of the bay here. I think should still be pretty fishable. We'll see if there's any number of fish still holding in those bays before they come out. We'll see.
Got him. All right. I told you, Jim, I couldn't let it go by. Ooh, a double. There it is. My first frog bass of the year. I told Jim, you got to take me into some frog water. We got all these new Terminator frogs. This is one of the new poppin' frog colors. They just added some phenomenal colors. And I said, this particular color, I looked at this and I said, I gotta get this on and get bid on it, Jimmy. You don't frog fish normally in 30, 35 mile-an-hour winds. But I said, take me to frog spot. So he's got me back in somebody's bays back in here, and there's some fish. We are catching some fish here. But my first frog fish of the year, it's starting. It don't get much better than that. I love the frog bite.
Ooh, there's one. Oh, big one.
Now you're talking.
Not too bad, though. We actually have a little bit of weeds in here. We're only in about a foot in the water. It's one thing about this early season fishing. You have the fish doing a lot of different areas. Starting to get there.
Got him. Number 2 frog bass for the year. Jimmy's bringing me back into frog water, and I'm loving it.
You know, today angling has become so presentation specific, and what I mean by that, a matched rod, reel, and line for the given fishing situation you happen to be fishing. Today, I've been doing a lot of jig flipping, so I'm using a Legend Tournament flipping rod. This is a 7'6", heavy, moderate, fast action rod that's really designed for this presentation. This rod line has been around for a long time. It's the famed St. Croix blue rods. It's very well known amongst bass anglers as being very high-end rods. But they went through the whole line and sort of like fine-tuned the action, changed some of the modulus, and even mixtures of different materials to make the rods for given fishing situations. There's actually 18 different bait casting rods alone for different fishing situations. They all happen to be frogging, and then 8 different spinning rods. And it does make a difference once you fish with the rods and reels, you know what I mean? When it's matched right, they're really fine-tuned machines. They really are. Ooh. Whoa. Big giant perch.
I'm getting my frog fix. Not as good as you're catching on a jig fix, but I'm getting my frog fish.
You know, and just like rods, reels too, you know, are really fine-tuned for a given fishing situation. This happens to be a Daiwa pitch and flip elite reel. It's really designed for this type of application. This is a real high-speed reel. This is an 8.1, but it also has a very narrow spool. Come here, buddy. So it's actually very, very hard to backblast once you get this reel tuned. But what I'm saying is when you get a really matched tackle, balanced equipment, it's amazing how efficient and easy it makes fishing. No question about it.
We are loaded for bear. We got
You know,
pike
there's
stuff.
so many different ways to fish for walleye. Dependability and efficiency.
Simple, fast, and easy.
The best rods on the planet. They like to eat when you're throwing the right thing.
You don't have all bluebird flat calm days.
Just a perfect eating size fish. See, that's what I'm talking about, these Daiwa drags.
We got walleye stuff. We got crappie stuff. We got pike stuff.
I got him. Doubles, doubles, doubles.
Just a little guy.
You know, we were talking just a little while ago. What are we going to call this show?
Boy, look at that.
Got any idea what we're going to do with this thing? We started with this, we started with that.
You know what I think we could call? We can call the show making a tough day a good day. You know, it's sort of intriguing. You know, we came out, the weather conditions look so negative. And the thing is, as what Al was talking about, it's sort of intriguing. You go just do something different. You know, I've been on this lake one other time for about 2 hours. So we came over and did a investigation, and it's been sort of a learning experience. Now I want to come back here again.
You know, when I do these closes, it's usually about something personal and something that I believe the Lord has done in my life. And what I'm going to share with you today, I was really torn. Lord, do I really have to share this? You know, this is really special to me. And I was torn. Yes, no, yes, no. And it's like the Spirit of God said, you need to share it because a lot of people are dealing with issues like this and need to hear this from you. A lot of you know that my wife has dealt with a lot of health issues over the years. Well, she went home to be with Jesus, went to heaven about 11 months ago now. The last 6 weeks were tough, toughest 6 weeks of my life. We were at Abbott Heart Hospital in Minneapolis, and she was in the intensive care unit. Over the years, she had 3 valve replacements, she was diabetic, a lot of other issues. And the heart was wearing out again. We had valve problems. There was a lot of things they couldn't do. Yeah, you know, and she started to get really sick really fast. Like I said, I was down there 24/7 with her during the COVID crisis. They did let me stay in the hospital from 7 in the morning until 8 at night with her, and then I had to leave. But it was one day after the other things. The doctors were trying everything on that you can imagine. And after very near the end of almost like 5 weeks in there, they wanted to try one more test, and she did not want to do this. She was already on pain pills, sleeping about 22 hours a day, very distant much of the time. And at one point, just days before she went home, she looked at me matter-of-factly. There was a test that we were supposed to do the next morning. She looked at me and said, "Honey, I can't do this no more. I want to go home to be with Jesus. Take me home so I can go home. Take me out of here. I want to go to my house." When she said that to me, what I heard in my heart from the Spirit of God is, Al, it's time. I'm coming to get her, and you got to let her go. Al, it's time. I'm coming to get her, and you got to let her go. At that moment, my prayer went from believing for a miracle, which we've seen so many times in her life over the years, it just went like this: Lord, make it quick and easy. It was days later. She was in our home. Here, I was holding her hand on one side, my boys were holding her hand on the other, when her spirit left her body. She went to heaven. The peace that I have after that took a little bit of time. You can imagine what you went through. But I know and I believe in my heart what the Word of God says, that I will see her again. She's in a new body, a healthy body, living a good life, dancing in the streets of gold in heaven. I believe that with all my heart, and that I will see her again. That gives me the peace that surpasses all understanding. And there's a peace that I could deal with anything now. Am I still adjusting? Yeah, there's days and things that I adjust to. That's going to go on for some time yet. But I dealt with it when I seen what had happened. When she was ready, everything just flipped over. And God it was a beautiful exit from body into the spirit world to heaven. And that brings me peace that surpasses all understanding. Some of you right now are dealing with similar situations like this. I hope this helps you. Hey, from all of us here at The Edge, have a great fishing season. We'll see you on the water.